when you look at what Airbus have been saying for the last 2 years or so, since well before the referendum, they've been about every few months or so they make another threat saying that they're going to leave the country. And when you look at what they actually said today, they said if Britain gets a deal where we're not in the customs union, they're going to move production to the USA or China, which aren't in the EU or the customs union either. So I think, again, it looks like it's a politically motivated statement. It's trying to push Theresa May into changing her position publicly on Brexit. And I think when you actually look at the markets, when Airbus had genuine supply chain issues about a couple of years ago with the assembly of its planes, its share price collapsed. There's been no effect on the share price today. I think investors clearly don't think this is a serious ploy, and I think the way it's been sold by the newspapers and the media today makes it sound like they've already made this decision. They say this is purely a contingency decision, and I don't think, again, I think when you look at what they're actually saying, we're going to move it outside the EU, it's not really credible. I think it's a political manoeuvre, plain and simple.
Dawn?
I think it doesn't really matter where they move it, because we are going to lose 4,000 jobs, Airbus say.
If they say we're going to lose jobs because we're leaving the customs union, then why would they move them to the USA and China, which are outside the customs union as well?
Because at the moment they receive a lot of protections, and we have an extremely low corporation tax. Outside of that, all of those things change. So actually, moving it to China or the US might make sense if we lose what we currently have in the UK. And actually, the aerospace industry has much higher productivity than most other places in the UK. The UK productivity has only grown by 1% across most industries, whereas in aerospace it's grown by 4%. It accounts for a huge number of jobs. So Airbus, for instance, employ 110,000 people across the UK and contribute a huge amount to GDP. So I don't see why Airbus would come out and make these threats unless, as their internal review said, it is a genuine threat to their business, and they can't see any point staying in the UK if we crash out with no deal and leave businesses, and loads and loads of businesses have warned that they want more assurances from the government. The government won't speak to them, and this is why we have the CBI coming out and saying that we need more clarity. If Theresa May really cared about jobs, she would be turning around, offering businesses a lot more assurances, rather than just relying on the hope that they'll stick around and then we can hopefully strike up trade deals with China or the US afterwards, when actually Trump has been extraordinarily competitive about tariffs today.
Hugh suggesting today that this is a cynical ploy because Airbus is very much a European project. They've been given billions of pounds of EU subsidies over the years. So, why wouldn't they make this threat?
Of course, I think they do have huge shareholdings from the French and other European governments in Airbus, but I don't think that's their motive. Look, they're talking about British politics in the same way they've been talking about it for years. They want to force, same as with the CBI. These people have been banging on about it for years and years and years. Same with the euro, same now. They want the UK to maintain as close ties to the EU as possible. But I think people are saying, why hasn't the government given them clarity? There's no clarity because the EU is refusing to come to the table and discuss trade talks. Theresa May can't give them clarity. We were supposed to have moved on from the first phase of negotiations in December.
But the EU is waiting for the UK to give clarity, isn't it? The EU is waiting for the UK to give its clarity.
Well, no, the EU's refused to start actually negotiating trade until this Irish backstop, which I think a majority of people, polling showed, in Ireland itself, believe is a bit of a ruse. It's been exaggerated for political purposes. So I think it's all very well for them to say they want more clarity, but it's the EU that's refusing to move. I think when you actually look at the direction of travel within the government on Brexit in the last few months, it's clearly towards a much softer Brexit than Theresa May was promising even 6 months ago or so. So I think you have to look at it in the context of that. There's been a huge amount of pressure from people like the CBI. Now Airbus is joining the fray as well. They see further opportunities to soften the government's position. This is very strategic. They're doing this just before the June European Council summit next week. They've been fighting a political battle on Brexit for over 2 years now, and this is simply the latest episode in that.